First day in the office, internet dreams collide. Season 3 got me buzzing, Comcast worldwide. I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, a podcast made by Comcast interns about interns. I'm Isabella a university relations intern working in person at the Battery office in Atlanta for this summer 2024. This season, we will be sharing our internship experiences as Gen Z interns. Our point of view. We could not be more excited to have you all tuning in and joining us.
I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my...
Let's get started and meet our hosts.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, the podcast created by interns, about interns, for interns. My name is Kennedy Ryman. I'm a senior at the University of Georgia, and this summer I'm working as a finance intern under the controller team for the Central Division. And as the summer has flown by, I have enjoyed learning so much about all things admin expense related and getting to meet all the wonderful interns in our cohort.
And hi, everyone. My name is Isabella and I am going into my junior year at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm majoring in strategic communication and getting a minor in digital media analytics. And this summer, I am working as a university relations intern for the Central Division. I have really enjoyed advancing my knowledge in project management, employee experience, and so much more. And of course, the friendships and connections that I've made with other interns here at Comcast have 100% been a highlight of my summer.
Today, we are so excited to be chatting about one of the most important topics in today's business world. You may know it as DEI or DEI and B, but either way, today we are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
In recent years, the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in the corporate world has significantly grown. Companies are increasingly recognizing that fostering a diverse and inclusive workplace not only enhances employee satisfaction and innovation, but also drives better business outcomes.
Exactly, Isabella. Organizations are implementing comprehensive DEI strategies, including bias training, diverse hiring practices, and inclusive policies to create environments where all employees can thrive. This shift, I think, definitely reflects a broader understanding that diverse perspectives and equitable opportunities are essential for long-term success and sustainability in a globalized economy.
For sure, Kennedy. And that's why we feel it is such an important topic to share. Today, we are so excited to have a new POV from West Division's best, Gemma Tipping. Hi, Gemma. Would you please introduce yourself?
Of course, and thank you guys so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Gemma Tipping. I completed my undergraduate degree at the University of Denver, and I'm currently finishing up my graduate degree at Loyola University in Chicago. As Isabella said, I'm an intern sitting in the West Division, and I work remotely in Colorado as a forecasting and analysis intern.
Awesome, Gemma. Thank you. As we said earlier, today we will be chatting all things DEI in the workplace, but let's delve into what DEI actually means. Obviously, we all know it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but what does that really mean?
For sure. In my mind, diversity refers to the presence of differences within a given setting, encompassing a range of attributes including race, ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation, disability, and so much more. It highlights the variety of perspectives and backgrounds that employees bring to the workplace.
Exactly, Isabella. And I think that works hand in hand with equity. Equity is all about ensuring fair treatment, opportunities, and advancement for all employees. It seeks to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of some groups, aiming to provide everyone with what they need to succeed.
Exactly, Gemma. And I feel like inclusion really ties it all together. Inclusion is all about creating these environments in which any individual or group can be and feel welcomed, respected, supported, and valued. It's really the practice of fostering a sense of belonging where all employees feel comfortable being their authentic selves.
Exactly. And this is why DEI is so important in the workplace. A diverse workforce really brings a variety of perspectives, experiences, and ideas. And this diversity of thought can lead to more innovative solutions and creative problem solving, better decision making, increased employee engagement, and so much more.
I totally agree with you, Isabella and Gemma. And it's great to work for a company that really embraces all there is about DEI. To Comcast, DEI is not just a program, it is a central element of the business and what they stand for.
I totally agree with you, Kennedy. It is so apparent, even in just the short few months we have been interning here, that Comcast infuses diversity and inclusion, or D&I, into all aspects of the culture and business.
Comcast really does know that a diverse and inclusive company is a more innovative and successful company. And it has been so exciting to watch that unfold during our internship. I know DEI initiatives were something that was really important for me going through my internship search process. Was it something super important for you, Gemma?
It wasn't specifically one of the reasons I applied for Comcast, but something that did stick out to me was the strong employee culture that Comcast exhibits. Ultimately, this can be due in part to all employees feeling accepted and supported by their peers and leaders within the company. And it is clear that Comcast makes an effort to create opportunity and support for everyone. That in itself is DEI, in my opinion, at least on the internal side of things.
I totally agree with that. I think a huge part of finding the right employer fit is finding a company that aligns with the values that you hold and also creates an environment that you can be yourself and thrive in. Knowing myself, I wouldn't be able to thrive as an employee and do my job well if I wasn't working for a company like Comcast that upholds these ideals.
Right, Kennedy. And for me, Comcast has really set the standard for how a company should be implementing DE&I into their businesses. I feel like Comcast's DEI goals and just the DEI culture in general is so different than any other company I have worked for, mainly due to how much effort they genuinely commit into DEI. And what I mean by this is that, in my experience, there are lots of companies who say that they support DEI, but it can sometimes feel as though their statement is not 100% backed up by their effort to celebrate diversity in the workplace. Comcast truly listens to everybody's voices and responds. This is something I was just talking about earlier this week when I shadowed with the PR team. Comcast just really does an incredible job of not only verbally supporting DEI, but ensuring that they are implementing programs and new ways for the company to really appreciate their coworkers' differences. It's a great environment.
I totally agree, Isabella. I think the big difference in DEI at Comcast compared to other companies is that here, Comcast does a lot more than just speak, they act. And that can be said for how Comcast engages with everything, even outside of DEI.
Welcome back to Comcast in Your Community, a segment devoted to sharing important updates and promising insight into how Comcast impacts people on a deeper level. So what is Comcast doing today? A new initiative that supports journalism and sharing the perspectives of historically marginalized voices is being powered by Comcast NBC Universal. This initiative includes a year-long fellowship that provides selected candidates with the training and resources necessary to tell stories within marginalized communities, specifically celebrating the work of Black and LGBTQ+ leaders. Comcast is donating $1 million to launch this program, and it's really great to see that changes are being made in relation to media representation. Not only will this initiative drive media coverage of Black and LGBTQ+ topics, but it will also help train emerging journalists on how to best report on issues or topics related to these communities.
Anyone can say they support diversity or make a Teams page for people who are interested in LGBTQIA plus rights. It is a lot more to get your leaders on board and to embody those values outside of that one specific group. In the past, I have worked at predominantly white, male and white workplaces where there apparently was no need for diversity, when really there wasn't an opportunity because the workplace itself wasn't diverse. I've found that all the teams and individuals I have worked with at Comcast are profoundly diverse, and more than that, the leadership is diverse and promotes opportunities to engage with ERGs, learn how to be an ally, etc. Ultimately, I think the buy-in from the top down and the active effort to create a diverse workplace sets Comcast apart.
I love so much of what you mentioned there, Gemma. And I was actually looking at some of the stats preparing for this episode, and it looks like Comcast's employee base is 37.1% women and 46.3% people of color. Definitely really great numbers, but they can always be improved. I also love that you mentioned ERGs. Let's dive into that a little more.
Yes, Kennedy. ERGs are so fun, but also super important for a company. For anyone who doesn't know, ERG stands for Employee Resource Group, and they are voluntary, employee-led groups that are typically organized around a shared characteristic or experience, such as race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or other attributes. These groups provide a supportive network for employees, fostering a sense of community and belonging within the organization.
Right, Isabella? I feel like ERGs are really important for building that inclusion factor, like we were saying. ERGs provide a support network and community for employees who share common backgrounds or interests. ERGs also advocate for policies and practices that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organization.
Exactly, Kennedy. I feel like one of the biggest things ERGs do is help raise awareness about diverse cultures, perspectives, and issues, fostering a more inclusive workplace culture. ERGs can really contribute to business goals by providing insights into diverse markets and customer bases, enhancing innovation and problem solving.
For sure, Gemma, I completely agree. ERGs just make such an impact on a company, whether it's advocating for and achieving changes in company policies, assisting in recruiting and retaining diverse talent, or enhancing employee engagement. ERGs really do have the ability to change the culture in a workplace.
Now, for the listeners that may not know, here at Comcast, we have 9 ERGs that cater to so many demographics and communities, including Women's Network, Young Professionals Network, Black Employee Network, Asian Pacific Americans, Indigenous, My Abilities Network, OUT, Unidos, and the Veterans Network.
Did you know that in 2023, Comcast NBC Universal was recognized as the #2 overall employer in a Best for Veterans ranking by Military Times? This is so important because integrating back into everyday life after serving America is not always or often an easy thing to do. One of Comcast's many ERGs, or employee resource groups, is VetNet, which encompasses thousands of members across the company. VetNet works with and supports veterans, military spouses, National Guard and Reserve members, and more to assist them with employment and career goals. Yeah, and I think the cool thing about our ERGs is just seeing how proudly they are advocating for these communities and creating events to show that everybody is appreciated. Gemma, have you joined any ERGs or attended any of their events?
Yes, I joined OUT and the Women's Network, and so far I've only been able to attend a virtual wellness and health stretching session with the Women's Network, which I found to be very engaging. The Women's Network hosted a clothing drive, which I absolutely loved, as it highlighted that there is so much caring and support to be shared when diverse people can come together and be accepting. I also enjoy that the focus of the ERG events isn't necessarily about awareness or lectures, but rather community building and employee support opportunities.
I really love that you made that point because I feel like someone hearing you're a part of the Women's Network would assume you walk around with pitchforks and signs about hating men, when in reality, you come together to be there for one another.
That's so true. I really feel like our ERGs make events not to say we're better than everyone else, but to teach people how to be a better version of themselves.
Absolutely. And I think that is what makes it less daunting for people to engage with ERGs. I would also like to add that ERGs are a low commitment yet high value way to not only engage within an affinity group you align with, but to become an ally for others.
I absolutely love you mentioning that because that reminds me that majority of the members in the ERG out that supports members of the LGBTQ community, for those who don't know, are allies.
And Isabella, there were a lot of men who are a part of the Women's Network. And this is because in 2017, Comcast launched a campaign, now largely known as the motto, "You don't have to be to belong."
And I would also like to say that, in my experience at least, I think there is a stigma around ERGs and professionalism in the workplace. However, I think that creating opportunities for employees to get involved and learn about each other helps to boost professionalism and success within an organization because they create a sense of respect and trust amongst employees.
Well said, Gemma. And to those that want to join an ERG, the process is so simple. You can reach out to them through their profiles on Viva Engage or by asking around because you never know who around you are involved with one.
Exactly. And if I could, I'd like to pivot because we have talked about how Comcast really uses their ERGs to practice inclusion, but there are other ways that they do as well.
That's so true. And Gemma, I would first love to hear about how the West Division practices inclusion.
The West Division does two main things to practice DEI in my experience. They create diverse teams and they host tangible events and opportunities through ERGs to embrace DEI. My team in itself is more diverse than what I'm used to with previous jobs, and I could say the same about our intern cohort this summer.
I totally agree because really at the end of the day, encouraging employees to be exposed to areas and opportunities they haven't seen is a huge way Comcast promotes inclusion.
And as I have said before, I think actively practicing DEI means creating diverse teams to begin with. And I feel that I've met people very different from myself, and that is creating opportunities for empathy and understanding.
And both of you just gave me the thought that Comcast puts employees in situations where they're exposed to teams of people they've never worked with, while also showing them that we all have something in common and are more than capable to work together and create synergy.
That's so funny because that reminds me of the Starburst game we played during orientation, where we were separated into teams and given the task to build a boat out of aluminum foil. And we were all in teams with different departments, ages, races, backgrounds, and literally everything. But each team had the same favorite Starburst flavor, and everyone in their differences were able to create a boat that actually floated.
That day was very funny and extremely competitive, but I do love how you were able to make that connection. But Gemma, we absolutely loved having you here and giving us your POV on DEI and also your experience with ERGs. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for having me. I loved being here.
Now that I think about it, Kennedy, I think it's time for every intern's favorite segment, Behind the Desk.
We first asked interns, what's been your favorite ERG event? And they said, celebrating Pride with Elena Della Dunn, out volunteerism at Lost and Found thrift store, and coffee chat with the Women's Network.
Then we also asked interns what's an ERG they would like to see at Comcast. And everybody had some really good responses and recommended ERGs that were built around activities like sports, arts and crafts, or even a yoga ERG to encourage mental wellness and self-care, a food allergies ERG, and a non-denominational or faith-based ERG.
Wow, now we need to find the people responsible for creating ERGs.
No, literally, we need to make the people's vision a reality ASAP.
Well, as always, a huge thank you to Maddie, Amanda, Tamia, and Jordan for giving us your POV on this segment of Behind the Desk.
This episode was put together by myself as the project manager, producers Kennedy Ryman and Mallory Richard, podcast editors Gabriella Rad and Reese Tobin, script writers Madison Proper and Jordan Winton, as well as script editor Amanda Greaves, IT by Jonathan Elkowitz, and digital graphics created by Grace Maines and Joan Kim. And shout out to both Kennedy, Ryman, and I for hosting this episode as well.
And a big thank you to all our Central Division interns, the University Relations team, and our West Division guest, Gemma Tipping, for making today's episode a success. If you want to dive deep and create the future with us, please don't forget to apply this fall for a summer internship. Applications open September, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Stay tuned for the next episode and all season long, as we'll always be keeping it real and bringing you our POV. See you next week. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Internet Podcast. This episode was brought to you by the Intern Podcast Committee, with support from the incredible University Relations team in the Central Division. Special thanks to Janda Anderson, Ernesto Sosa, Lindsay Seals, and Andres Cardoso for making our experiences as Comcast interns unforgettable. Past seasons of the Internet Podcast are now available and streaming on your favorite services, so feel free to check them out. Listen to previous seasons wherever you listen to your podcasts, and stay tuned for the next episode of Season 3.